Hello, viewers. Continuing our conscientization campaign relating to a new science that is so very necessary for humanity, which is the science of social psychopathology, developed by the scientist and psychoanalyst Norberto Keppe, and also known as Analytical Trilogy, because it unifies the fields of theology, philosophy, and science. And although Dr. Keppe is a scientist in all senses of the word, and in terms of what this demands, he, based on experimentation and caring for his clients, was able to perceive the fundamental problems that assail all of society. Because society is and exists as a very important element in our lives, and Dr. Keppe is going to talk a little more about this today, and individuals can act positively and negatively in society and can cause all the horrible problems that we are living and have always lived. When Dr. Keppe talks about reality with his clients, he often as not says that the individual who is neurotic or psychotic is an individual who is unable to accept reality, that he fights against reality. So people may say, but what we have out there, this world that exists as it is, the society that we live in is not a good one. So do we have to accept this? Take a look at this brief explanation on the diagram. Keppe says that present reality in the world today is more a pseudo-reality. This reality that we live, that has wars, hunger, poverty, injustice, pollution, and crimes, is not the real reality. This is a reality created by the sick minds of the human being, created by the inverted minds of the human being. What Keppe calls reality, I'd like our viewers to see, what is the real? It would be a reality that is adequate for the human being, with peace, tolerance among nations, among human beings, cooperation instead of competition, social and scientific technological process, prosperity, wealth for all people, not to become millionaires, but for everyone to have what they need in abundance, a reality of aesthetics, of artistic beauty, where the feeling of love, of the truth, of goodness would be prevalent. Dr. Keppe, would you today like to talk a little about this issue that you began to develop in 1958, 59, 60 over there in Vienna? About what you understand as being a great social therapy, a social pathology, a social therapy for humanity?
I have been treating the social issue ever since my book Psychoanalysis of Society, which I published in 1976. And so, what would be a great society? Sociology is more based on the Frenchman Émile Durkheim, who practically created sociology, and also the German Max Weber. And as I remember, human society, in all that it is superior to the individual human being. So let's say that the individual who is better adapted to society is an individual who is saner. And the individual who does not adapt himself, who fights, who destroys, who creates underground societies, creates secret societies, these are the individuals who are sick. And these organizations, which are separated from society, mainly these secret societies, cause a great many serious social disturbances. So what would be a society in and of itself? When we talk about Adam and Eve, Claudia, those two naked individuals running around there in paradise, well, it's not exactly like that. When God created society, He created all of society, and of course, there were many people. Not so many people as there are today, but there was a society that was already formed, and He directed it.
So it was a very developed society, consequently much more developed since everything was ready.
Exactly. Then later, human beings decided to live by their own wits, let's say. The human being did not want God as director. He wanted to create his own kings and noblemen, his governors, mayors. And this now is what it has all resulted in. But society, in its essence, which was organized by God, is entirely different from what we see today. As Claudia showed us, from this state of wars, of factions, fights about this or that, so much hunger, misery. This is not our society. One can say, can't we, Claudia, that this is more a society that is run by the devil. So Lucifer saw how happy we were in this divine society, and he stuck that tail of his into it and finished up with the story. And he accomplished what he was after. We live in a society, as a client of mine calls it, that our society is a doorway to hell. It's already a preparation for hell that nobody wants to go to. So our society is no longer divine as it should be. But nature, the seas, the waters, the air, land, all of this is divine. So take a look now at a diagram that I'm going to put up for you.
What is a society? A society, in its essence, is good, is beautiful, and is real. In its essence. This is interesting. You are talking about essence.
As society was created by the divine being, it was created in agreement, in harmony with himself. And he is good, beautiful, obviously aesthetic, and totally real. So Wilfred Bion, showed us the following. He was a psychoanalyst in England, and he showed that in group therapy, that when there is a very neurotic person, a person who is sicker than the others, the group supplies the elements necessary for that person to regain at least a more reasonable attitude. So, this means that society is superior to the human being. And so everyone, myself included, and you, the viewers there, must realize this, so that we give all our effort, all our work to improve society, which is also a divine creation. Take a look now, in second place, at what I've written for you.
Society alone supplies mental equilibrium.
In third place,
the social function is also superior from that of the human being. And it's for all these reasons that we need to preserve society in good working order. Dr. Keppe, you talk about what is contrary to the Darwinist evolutionists. You perceive creation as having been created in a perfect society that is complete and had everything, and that it later went into decline.
Exactly. It's just the opposite.
So it was the contrary then.
It's not from the lesser to the greater, from what is worse to what is better. It's from the better, the height of development, and going into a gradual decay.
This idea of the cavemen, of beginning very slowly, of the group, all of this.
People ran to the caves due to the atomic explosions. The Neanderthal cavemen and Charles Darwin's theory is a very dumb theory, because it is a theory that has nothing to do with science. Nature has decay, entropy, but not an evolution per se. The missing link between the monkey and man was never discovered. So why do they stubbornly insist on this? It's not a religious issue. It is an erroneous scientific issue. Take a look at what society's function is.
Society's function. A developed population respect social laws that are just.
So, societies that are out there fighting against the great society are spurious societies, we can say. They are societies that are against the human being, against reality, beauty, and the truth that exists in the real society. So, if there is a person who is not well adapted to society, then this person is sick. You will notice that the mentally sick do not have a good relationship with social life. They are isolated. I would like to show you who began this study of social life in the world. Take a look at who it was.
Émile Durkheim.
He was French.
It's a German name, but he was French.
From the 19th century. So what did this Émile Durkheim do? Take a look.
The inversions of Émile Durkheim. First, the wrong idea about the social fact supplying the basis of the origins of society.
So he took the same inductive idea from science and began to imagine that the creation of society gradually came from social habits. And there presently exist groups of people who think that if you keep repeating something over and over to someone, this is like that, it's like that, that suffering is good, illness is good, then in the end the person will end up accepting it as true. But he's not going to accept it, because within the person's essence, he knows what is right and knows what is wrong. So take a look in second place at what Émile Durkheim did.
Everything that happens originates from society, even suicide.
Durkheim thought that mistakes, that misunderstandings arose from the social institution, and that one day, through evolution, it would get better. But it's not like that. Society is better than the human being, and the human being, from being so very neurotic, began to create a fall in society, which is precisely what is happening in the United States, for example. Which is the reason why I declared that Reaganomics, which was a so-called economy of speculation, speculation does not generate any type of economy. I wrote a book called The Decay of the American People and of the United States, which I wrote already in the 80s. And the content of this book is now proven. It's not only a decay of the stock market, it's a mental decay. So take a look now in third place at what I've written for you.
This is the reason why French society is always so confused. It is necessary to become conscious that the social factor can be prejudicial if it is evil, ugly, and not the truth.
So, society itself is suffering the effects of the powerful, especially the evil powerful ones. If society didn't have so many powerful people, we wouldn't have so many problems as we now have.
We'll be right back.
Even if we don't have a lot of consciousness, we can perceive that life is divine. We live in transcendence, whether we accept it or not. We still live in an earthly paradise, except we don't accept it. In fact, we attack what is most beautiful, good, and real. Consciousness of our envy and inversion will make it possible for us to return to this paradise we've abandoned. We don't need to build it. We just need to accept it. The Stop the Destruction of the World Association was created to bring about exactly this consciousness. We are working to return the world to goodness. Join us.
Dr. Keppe was saying that the social factors, if they are evil, pernicious, ugly, In other words, they shouldn't exist in any society, and much less in one that has such strong influence on the human being. They are, in fact, influential today because the human being lives in this inversion. In fact, I would like to present to you viewers right now that in present society, based on all the people who can see, and if they are aware of this inversion, that Dr. Keppe discovered that the laws have ended up punishing those who are good and protect those who are bad, the real criminals. For example, the people are seen as non-payers and are punished. Many cannot pay back their loans because of the high interest rates that are sky high. Credit cards, the interest rates of these credit cards, and there's the overdraft account. These human beings are total hostages of these rates, of these taxes, of these interest rates, so the people are seen as criminals. And the bankers are earning billions in profit. They are seen as the good guys in society. They are protected, even though they are the exploiters. Bankers are the ones who exploit. They are the great billionaires who are protected by the law. In an inverted society, in the original society, what do we have? Things are going to be a lot like they are today. Laws, judges, organizations of administrative execution. But you can notice that in a correct society that the laws are going to protect the good and punish the bad. Because the human beings will have disinverted himself. He will be conscious of the inversion that he lives.
I was talking here to Evair, who directs our program. Evair said that he is doing a law course that Durkheim would accept. Durkheim had the idea that what is good has to unite with what is evil in order for society to exist. So, comparing, for example, a sane individual with a criminal, or a suicidal person with a normal individual, or a thief with an honest individual. So, if, for example, there is a lot of robbing going on, then robbing would be a normal procedure in Durkheim's understanding. So, based on my conversation with Evair, law needs to go through an extensive remodeling, because evil does not have to live together with goodness. Evil is simply the privation of goodness. So a thief deprives goodness. An assassin, a war, deprives goodness in society. Now, I would like to show you another author, one of German origin.
Max Weber.
Max Weber has a totally different understanding of what a social system is, as compared to Durkheim. Take a look at what he wrote.
First, he noticed that society bases itself on affectionate action. Second, on the rationale. And third, on the economic factor.
So, you will notice that we say that society is based on the feeling of love, on goodness. So, society has to be good, considerate, friendly. The politician has to be an affectionate individual, a good individual. In second place, Weber said that society has to be rational. That is, a rational society, one that is in agreement with truth. So his mistake was that he believed that society had to be economic, instead of beautiful and aesthetic. You will notice that where there is no beauty, where there is a lot of poverty, there is also a very high crime rate. Where there is aesthetics, a country that has aesthetics, art, it develops.
In the arts,
Gardens, art, music, etc. The country, as a result, is a much more generous country. It's a country that is much easier to live in. And secondly, let's see what Max Weber said.
Thus, the fact that the more materialistic nations obtained more wealth.
Because Weber was Protestant, and the Protestantism of Calvin said that wealth was given to us by God, but not wealth in terms of money. Wealth that is provided through speculation is given by the devil and not by God. So wealth, the normal money itself for people to live, is also, of course, divine. But generally speaking, what happens in society is not like this. So look now in third place at what he wrote.
Max Weber gave more value to work than to leisure. Germany developed more than France because it was able to see the internal aspect of society.
So notice that it was in this sense that Max Weber made a contribution. Well, as he was German and a hard worker, just like the Japanese, as well as the Chinese, they are really workers, as were the Americans also, which is responsible for the great development that a country has. As Durkheim believed in a social nation, so he generated a huge regression in France. So France fell and Germany grew on this occasion because of these authors. Now take a look at another diagram that I'd like to put up for you.
The need to have a vision of Trinity. Without this vision of a Trinity, theology reduced the vision of God a lot.
And in second place,
by being a Trinity, philosophy becomes a partial knowledge.
Thirdly,
without the Trinity, the scientific vision does not reach even 10% of reality. Reality being a Trinity, all isolated knowledge is partial.
And so, in my work, I considered this threefold aspect. This is why I call my work Analytical Trilogy. It unites the three sectors of theology, philosophy, and aesthetics, and of course science, which is a part of aesthetics. So, if this union didn't exist in society, it would fall. You will notice that a theology that is separated from the social, separated even from the economy, from politics, etc., is a very unilateral theology, outside of reality. If philosophy is only based on thought and does not include theology, science, and aesthetics, then it is also partial. It is very academic, disagreeable. This is why philosophy has become an unpleasant subject. It is not threefold, as in the way we see it. The same with science. If it does not have a union mainly with theology and philosophy, then it will be a deceivingly mistaken science. Look now at what I've written about society.
Society is superior to man. First, society is more balanced and saner than what people think.
You will notice that society always defends itself when an imbalanced person turns up, or an imbalanced group of people. Society defends itself in order to be able to establish an equilibrium. In second place, what have I written?
That those who are mentally sick normally attack society.
Look at the importance of the knowledge of psychopathology, because those who are very sick do not enter into society. They are not active in terms of the social good. Normally, a very sick person wants to attack society, and if he gets into a position of power, then it's a real disaster. One only has to remember Bush, Hitler, Stalin, etc. In third place, take a look at what I've written.
The sanest individuals live in benefit of social well-being. A sane individual helps society, and a sick individual will always attack it.
You will notice that a person who is good is a person who wants to improve the social life, who wants to help others, who wants to help society to develop, to make it more beautiful, more enriched. And a malefic person, a sick person, is one who just wants to take everything from society that he can for himself and create a terrible situation. I would like to say that an erroneous attitude, anti-ethical, and immoral attitude in society are these. Take a look at the following.
Immoral conduct. First, films about assassinations.
And the next.
Films about robberies, for example, about the mafia. Films about intrigues, soap operas that show people lying. Those who incentivate sex, incentivate slyness. Books about lies, etc., etc., etc. All this incentivates illnesses.
Did you know that one's thoughts alone, if you have good thoughts, this permeates the environment with these good thoughts? If you have a malevolent thought or a malevolent feeling, you will also permeate the environment with this evil feeling, with this negative attitude that one has. So I would like to say that the world is not following who exactly?
That's right. The world is not following what Christ taught us. See you next time.